Hi everyone, this is a quick playthrough of a few turns from Fallout Wasteland Warfare. I'm Chris Birch, publisher of Modiphius, and this is...
Hi, I'm Jon Webb, I'm the Wargames manager for Modiphius.
And Jon is going to be making sure we're playing the rules right, because you never know. So these are still some playtest prototype components. Miniatures aren't all painted yet, they're all out with the pro painting team. And but we just want to really give you a quick proper playthrough so you know how the game plays. Right, Jon, so I know roughly how to play the game, having been involved in all the months of development. So
Sure.
You can obviously take us through any of the tweaks and changes and make sure we're doing this right. So we've got here a force of a paladin, Brotherhood of Steel paladin, who's got a combat shotgun and a stun baton, Daniel. And I've got...
and he's rocking some T60 armor. So
he is, yeah.
About as protected as he's going to be in this game.
And he's heroic as well, which gives him some extra abilities. We've also got two Night Patrol, as we call them, which is basically Brotherhood of Steel soldiers in combat armor, and they've got laser rifles.
One of the best weapons in the game.
Yeah.
Big fan of the laser rifle.
Cool. And then what have you got?
I'm rocking a Super Mutant Brute, so he's the boss. He's my heroic character.
Which is the dude here who's...
It's this chap over here.
Okay.
He's on with a huge club, so he's just a pure melee monster. He's going to get up close and beat face as fast as he can.
Yeah.
And then I've got two Super Mutants who are armed with assault rifles for a little bit of ranged cover, and they're also rocking batons because they want to get up close. Super Mutants are really a melee force,
Great.
in all honesty.
Okay. So tell us, how do we... how does activation initiative work?
Okay, so it's an alternating activation game, which means we would take it in turns to activate one model at a time. There is a caveat within that. You can essentially hold back with your forces, which means rather than activating, you just prepare with your chosen model. Your opponent would then take a turn, and that means when you take your next turn, if you prepared and went with another model, they could both move together. So what that basically gives you is a tactical choice of, do I want to hold back, reserve my forces, and kind of do a combined operation, or really, really focus on a point, or do I want that kind of the flexibility to kind of react and not give my opponent the drop? Because of course, if I'm holding my forces back, you're getting to activate before I do.
Yeah, and it lets you do more interesting tactics.
Flanking,
so you can do flanking
cover,
and stuff,
all that kind of thing.
Now, it's based on how many units you've got, isn't it? Who's
yes,
the least units?
It's currently to give some, not advantage, but some kind of balance. The player with the fewest models would take the first, or could choose to take the first turn, because you do always have the option to say, actually, you can have the first turn. In this case, we are both drawn, so it would be whoever didn't have priority last turn. Of course, it's the first turn of the game, so at this point, depending on whether you're playing a scenario or a narrative... Who played Fallout last? Sure, let's go with that. It depends on the mode, though. So, like narrative mode, most scenarios will dictate the aggressor goes first in the case of a kind of a defense.
Or do we dice off?
We can dice off. This would be...
Why could you be a gentleman and say you go first?
Oh, well, look at that. I mean, that's very good of you. So, Super Mutants will get... Is that because I know what I'm doing?
Yeah,
so you can learn from my
exactly.
actions.
Learn from the master.
Good thinking. Brilliant.
All right.
The Super Mutant Master.
Yeah.
One could say. So, I'm going to activate my Super Mutant Brute first, who, as we've established, this guy here. Now, he is heroic. So, heroic is important in Fallout. It's where we get a lot of that real Fallout flavour. So, one of the things heroic models have access to is the VATS system, which, if you've played Fallout, you'll be familiar with.
Yeah.
The way VATS works is at the start of each heroic model's turn, and one thing I've not done is I've not readied him. So, I will place
Getting it wrong already, mate.
Oh, well... I place a ready token to show that I've prepared.
These obviously won't be that big.
Very much not production
quite
ready.
Tiny. They're about 10 mil tokens,
right.
I think.
And these are double-sided, so ready and used. So
you're readying him, but you're actually activating him.
In this case, I will activate
straight
him.
Away.
If I didn't want to activate him, play would pass back to Chris, and he would be then ready for future turns. In this case,
this is the VATS.
Yep.
Dice, effectively, isn't it?
The special dice.
Yeah, special dice.
Special. Yeah. So there are 6 different dice in the game. The core 2 that you'll see a lot of is the white dice, which is the skill check dice, and the red dice, which is the armor dice. They're the ones that everyone kind of uses pretty much every time something happens. We also then have the 4 different colors of effect dice. So the black dice is for doing extra damage. The yellow dice is for punching through your opponent's armor. The purple dice is the special dice, which mainly gets used with VATS and also triggering special effects on weapons, which is always fun because it's things like setting fire to people with laser cannons, which is always a good time. And the green dice is your accuracy dice. So different weapons.
And you might be thinking that we're actually going for the retro effect of Fallout with the dice, but obviously these are play prototype dice, blank dice with stickers on, very high class, but they're all going to be gorgeous engraved dice. Being made. So.
Absolutely. So damage, damage, armor piercing, special, accuracy. Different weapons will use different combinations.
No, sure. I mean, this is the point of this is because there's like masses and masses and masses of different weapons in Fallout.
I think 63 in Wave 1 is our current card count for weapons.
Okay, so there's such a huge variety of weapons that we obviously wanted to be able to create different effects with the dice, and that lets us do that. But also, it's not just about combat, is it? Because a lot of the abilities and gear that's coming later in the game is also going to use the effect dice to give you different things
absolutely.
that you can do.
And in specific scenario interactions, you will be rolling those different dice, so it doesn't just apply to weapons.
Okay.
Anytime you make a check in the game, you will normally roll the white skill dice and a combination of coloured dice on top.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what you're going to do.
So my Super Mutant Brute is going to take his VATS test, so I roll the purple dice, and in this case I'm looking for the Nuka-Cola bottles, because we know Nuka-Cola's good. So he rolls a star, which unfortunately means he gets no VATS this turn. I mean, it's a downer, but so how VATS works we'll explain when it comes up, but essentially it lets you buy more quick actions.
Yeah.
Most activations, in fact all activations that are non-heroic, you have 2 actions to spend, and an action can be used to move, it can be used to take an action, which would be a shoot or a close combat or a skill check, or it can be used to prepare, which is essentially hunkering down and reacting to what happens around you. So that lets you activate in your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
In this case, my guy's on with a huge club, and he just wants to get up close and personal. So there are 2 different ways of moving in Fallout. There's the move and the charge. Charges are normally longer than moves. In this case, a Super Mutant Brute can charge green or move yellow, and we have coloured acrylic rods or cardboard rods, depending on which version
they're going to
using.
be cardboard in the actual final set. They're thick die cut, 15mm wide cardboard counters in colour with our colourblind colour markings on them, which is very simple to figure out which is which. And then if you want, you can upgrade. Our final versions of these will also be about 15mm wide, a bit smaller. So that'll be an upgrade kit that people can get.
Yep. So in this case...
and I should say they're also going to be marked with inch increments as well,
for the
wargamers
amongst you.
Yeah.
So in this case, he can move yellow and he can charge green. That is green. It's a bit dark on the table. A charge can only be used if it brings you into base-to-base contact with an enemy model. So in this case, we can pre-measure in this game. So feel free to pre-measure. We can see this guy does not have a current charge on any model. So he can move. So he's going to spend his first action to move, and we place the yellow range ruler base-to-base with him. And he can then move anywhere up to the end of that. In this case, he's going to go all the way because he's desperate to get up close to that T60 and punch it in the face. Mm-hmm. You can, if we were going to move around a piece of cover, we could move part way and then turn it and so on and so forth. And again, the inch increments that will be marked on there will assist when making that sort of movement. Yeah. So he's made his first action. He doesn't have a gun, so he's not going to be able to shoot, and he's not in base-to-base combat, so we can't use his club. He's not doing any scenario-specific items, so for the sake of argument, there might be a safe there that he needs to crack open. He would be able to take a skill check. Mm-hmm. In this case, none of that applies, so he's just going to be like, can I charge? Nope, still not quite. So he's going to move, and he wants to get into cover because he likes not being shot. So he's going to move up and tuck himself behind the sofa. So he has now finished his turn because he's made his 2 actions. We'll leave the use marker next to him to show so I don't reactivate him, because you can only activate each model once in a game round. So we alternate taking turns activating models. Once every single model is activated, that is the end of the round. And we would check for scenario, conditions, etc. and then move on to the next round. So that's his turnover. Play now passes to Chris.
So I reckon that the Knights are probably just going to hang tight and shoot their laser rifles. And they've got black short range,
which is the longest range in the game.
And actually they've actually got black, which is which will make us.
So the way range works in the game is very similar to shooting. There will be a short range and a long range, and as Chris has said, with the laser rifle, short range is anything up to black away from them, which would be 12 inches. Long range is anything up to 2 black, which is the longest range you can get in the game, which would be 24 inches.
So the Knights, because he's obviously going to be in cover now.
Is he gonna put his ready token down first?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Ready?
Yeah. Got to do that. So
which knight is activating first?
And we're gonna
Because remember, those are two different units, Chris. So which knight is activating?
Of course, yeah. I'm going to do the one on the left.
So we're going to do the one on the left.
So that is actually one unit card, because we activate each figure separately. Yeah.
So one of the things there will be slight differences depending on if we're playing the battle mode or the narrative mode.
Yeah.
You can run units of more than one model. However, they do still activate individually, but there are some slight differences between the two. In battle mode, which is the kind of the competitive version, you will only ever be running units of one.
Yeah.
But in narrative mode, there could be bigger units.
Yeah. And we do have a variant where you can activate the whole unit together
absolutely.
if you want to have a lot more figures on the board and speed up gameplay and activations. Okay, so I'm doing my left-hand knight, and so
his first action, he's not even going to move, he's just going to shoot.
Yeah, he's going to shoot.
So one of the things with activation is you can choose to activate in any order, so you could do a shoot and then a move, or a move and then a shoot, and you can repeat the same action as well. So this knight, if he wants to, could stand still, double fire with his laser rifle.
Yeah. So he's basically needs white dice, and he gets a black, yellow, and purple for close range
bonuses. So this is all on the item cards or the weapon cards. They will show you the two different ranges and what action dice you would be rolling.
And he's going to do a minimum of 2 damage if he hits. And his perception, which is his range combat attribute, is a 5 or less.
So just to quickly go over that, different models will use the different stats in different ways. In this case, we're going to use the perception value because he's making a ranged attack, and the ranged attack symbol is on his perception value. And in Fallout Wasteland Warfare, you need to roll equal to or under the value of the skill. So
and you're in cover, so I've got a -2.
Yep. So normally he'd need a 5 or less. However, as Chris has said, he's shooting through this piece of cover here. So that drops it to a 3 or less.
Yeah. But luckily, I got a critical, which actually means is a 1. Yeah. That counts as a 1, so that's a hit. And I get I don't get a critical because
he's not
not heroic, so I don't have to worry about that. The special effect gave me Nuka-Cola bottles.
Yep, and laser rifles are really good for Nuka-Cola
set you alight.
You can set me on fire. You have 2 choices with a laser rifle.
Or I can ignore.
You can ignore my armor.
Ignore damage, and I've got 1 point of armor reduction.
1 point of armor piercing already
as well.
So we'll go through the cards in a future video where we kind of break down all the different things
when they look nicer.
Yeah, we didn't want to get too gritty.
We've just had the cards approved, actually, the card design, but we need to now have all the cards laid out nicely.
So a Super Mutant Brute has 1 energy armor, and a laser rifle is an energy weapon. There are 3 types of damage.
I've got 1 armor reduction already.
Sure.
So you're going to lose that. So there's no point me using the Nuka-Cola bottles to ignore armor.
Well, because I'm behind cover, I gain an extra bonus point of armor. So technically, I'm currently energy armor 2. Right. You have punch through 1 because of the armor piercing symbol.
And I do 2 points of damage.
You're doing 2 points of energy, so I would get to make an armor save to resist 1 of that. However, you could spend your Nuka-Cola bottles to take that down to 0.
But I'd use both of them. So
you'd use 1 and then
I'm
one would go
I'm going to set you on fire. So we can see how that works.
Okay.
And then we're going to take a risk, and then we'll see how the armor works. So you've got effectively an armor of 1.
Of 1, yeah. So just to clarify that for those following at home, Chris did 2 points of energy damage to me. He ignores my base 1 energy armor that a Super Mutant Brute has. However, because I'm behind cover, I get a bonus point. Chris could spend his Nuka-Cola bottles to go through that and take me down to 0 armor, in which case I just take a flat 2 damage. However, he's decided to take the fun option, which is to set me on fire, because it's always fun setting people on fire. So I do get to make my armor resistance save.
And this is the Nuka-Cola bottles is specifically because of the laser rifle.
That's the trigger on laser rifle. So different weapons have different triggers depending on what they might be. So the huge club that I'm carrying, I can push models away from me, or I can stun them. Laser rifles are really good for armor penetration and setting people on fire. Yeah. Depends on the weapon, but again, once we get the kind of the cards in, we'll do some run-throughs to explain how this breaks down. So now we come on to the armor dice. So the armor dice is numbered 1 through 4 with different varying amounts. I need to roll equal to or under my armor to ignore any of the damage, and then whatever I've then rolled is the amount of damage that I resist. Yeah. So in this case, I'm taking 2 damage. I've only got 1 energy armor currently due to the cover, so I need to roll a 1 or less, well, 1, because there's no such thing as less than 1, to ignore 1 point of that armor. 1 point of that damage. If I roll over that, then my armor's failed, essentially. The shot's punched straight through it, and I take the full 2 damage. Okay. So if I roll a 1, I save 1 point. I have rolled a 1, so Chris did 2 damage. My armor resists 1, and I take 1 wound. So I'll put 1 wound counter on my Super Mutant Brute card. Now, Super Mutant Brutes are pretty tough. They've got, in this case, they use their endurance for their life value. Different models again. He's got 8, but he's heroic, which means so he gets a 9. Bonus point. Heroic models get an extra wound, so he's got 9 wounds. Chris has done 1 wound to me. Well, but that was your first shot.
Yeah, that was my first shot.
And I am on fire.
Let's try again.
Don't roll the red dice.
Yeah, right. So, okay. He's shooting again. Thinking...
really want to deal with this scary Super Mutant.
Oh, so that's not very
10
good.
is certainly not 3 or less. So unfortunately, that's a miss.
Yeah.
So good result there for me.
Shot went wild. Okay.
Fantastic.
Right, so it's back to you.
Back to me. So I cannot reactivate my Super Mutant Brute because he's already activated once this turn. So I get to take a ready token, and I'm going to ready my Super Mutant, and he is going to activate. Do you know what? He's going to activate, so he's got his assault rifle. He needs to move up a bit, so again, we'll do our movement. So he's movement yellow, same as the boss. So he gets to move up to yellow, which is great. And he's on with an assault rifle, so he can potentially shoot if he's in range. I'm not sure he's in range, but I'm going to pre-measure and find out. So his short range would be red, and then his long range would be red-green. So he's just out there. So unfortunately, he doesn't get to take the shot.
What a shame.
Which means he will take a second action to move. And again, got to take cover behind those sofas.
All right.
And that's his activation done, because that's his 2 actions. He's not heroic, so he doesn't get to use VATS.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to next activate my other knight.
Fantastic.
Control. Yeah, and he's going to activate, and he's going to shoot.
So as you can see, Brotherhood are cowards. They hang back and just shoot everyone with their guns. Brotherhoods have some of the best armor and the best weapons in the game. That you're going to see a lot of laser weapons with that. The caveat, therefore, is they will have much smaller armies. So we've been playing a lot of match play, the battle mode at the moment. You're looking at about 5 Brotherhood models to upwards of 16 models in the case of Raiders. So they will often be quite outnumbered. But the flip side is their armor is fantastic, so they can kind of hold off, and they do a lot of damage with their weapons. So different factions will have different play.
Are you ready for this?
Ready for it? You're going to shoot my boss again?
Yeah.
Who's on fire?
He's on fire, yes.
That's another hit.
Great.
So in this case...
Brilliant.
This has gone very well. So that's the black damage dice has done an extra point of damage. There's no point setting me on fire again, so you can punch straight through my armor.
Yeah.
And you can spend that to punch through the armor again.
Wow.
So...
And, of course, I don't have critical ability, so it's just a 1.
But if he was a hero, he'd be a crew.
So I'm going to punch through. Now, again... my laser rifle lets me use double cola bottles to set you on fire, but because you're on fire already, there's no point.
You can't double stack
equally, I can use an individual cola bottle to ignore a point of armor. I've done an extra point of damage. My laser rifle does a fixed 2 points of damage, so that's 3 damage. And I've got armor penetration already. So your armor is only...
The most my armor could be is 2. 1 for my base armor, 1 for the cover. You can ignore up to 3 points of armor. So I'm not getting an armor save.
Basically,
back of this. Taking 3 wounds.
3 wounds.
That's not nice.
Sorry,
I'm over a third of the way. My poor brute has picked a bad day. And he's on fire. He's picked a bad day to be in the Wasteland.
Obviously, we'll come to you next turn.
Cover, yeah.
So, I guess he's going to shoot again because, now he's a good target because he's on fire. It's like, And so that is a fail.
That's a miss, thankfully. So the cross is always a miss. There is no way of rectifying that. So it's a straight miss.
That sucks.
So they go away. So I've got my final guy who... is not enjoying all the laser fire that's flashing around.
Yeah, you can always leave if you want.
He could. So he will move.
Listen, tasty meat waiting back at the camp.
And again, let's measure his range. So he now is in range for a shot. So we've got a shot on the T60 suit. So Super Mutants are not the best at shooting, and assault rifles they're an okay weapon. They're cheap and cheerful. They're pretty accurate. They're pretty bog standard. So he only has a perception of 4 with rifle weapons, which this is. There are actually different classes of weapons. So we have pistol weapons, rifle weapons, close combat weapons, and heavy special weapons. So in this case, I'm using a rifle weapon, and I need a 4 or less on my white dice. Assault rifles add a black dice for damage and a green dice for accuracy. So looking for that 4 or less. However... in this case, so the way cover works is you would draw a line from the center of the model to the center of the model.
I think you're okay.
And in this case, it doesn't cross the bed.
But
so
if it did,
that would be another -2. Okay. If I was standing adjacent to or touching the bed, I would ignore it for the purpose of line of sight. So that's why, for example, this guy here, he would not be suffering negatives because he's touching the sofa. Same with the boss. So I still need that 4. 7 is very much not a 4.
You got a -1.
I've got a
here, but that
-1,
doesn't help.
so the accuracy dice will often take a value off to make it easy to hit. Unfortunately, 7 -1 is 6. That is not less than 4, so that's a complete miss. And that's his turn, and I forgot to put my ready use token down. Shocking behaviour. So, that's the end of the Super Mutants' turn. Now, the Brotherhood still have their mighty paladin in his awesome T60 armour.
And he's got
a stun baton or a combat shotgun. So, again, put your ready token down.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Okay, so
and don't forget, he's heroic as well,
he's
so he gets his VAT test.
And he's going to activate. So, first of all, we roll the
special dice to see if he gets any VATs. Which he does not. So again, we're always looking for that Nuka-Cola bottle on the VATS test.
Which would just give me an extra
Give you a quick action.
Yeah. Which is useful, especially now, because it would have helped me get into, at the moment, my combat shotgun's short range, which is the
red,
really where I need to be.
You need to be up close with combat shotguns. They have no bonus dice at long range, but 2 black
so these
dice.
are your 2 standard.
They're my 2 generics. Yep, they're just Super Mutants. This is my Super Mutant Brute over here.
Well, since he's on fire, I'm tempted to... Oh, wait a minute, I need to move. Right, so
he's going to spend his first action point to move.
And then I should be in range to shoot.
Yep,
yeah, I think we'll do that. Sorry. Let's, here we go.
Cool, so he's taking his first action to advance, second action to shoot, nice and close. In this case, again, the cover... Center to center does not cross that piece of scenery, so you've moved far enough to essentially outflank me, and I'm no longer getting that protective bonus.
So his perception is 6 for his ranged.
Yep.
And he gets 2 black dice.
So he needs a 6 or less. Range.
So let's see what he gets. So
he gets a hit, and that's a critical hit. And this now matters because he is a
and
heroic model.
He's hit as well, so he gets critical when he hits as well.
So whenever you hit with an attack, you get 1 critical point. If you get the critical icon, which is the exclamation mark, you would then get a second bonus.
So that's I've just scored 2 criticals.
2 criticals. And the way crits work is each weapon has a unique or an individual critical track, and as you score more hits with that, you build up your track,
so
much like in Fallout 4.
Combat shotgun, if I get a total of 4 criticals, then I'm going to auto hit on the next attack that I want to use it on.
Do more damage, and have all sorts of... I mean, again, we'll go through crits, how they work, but for the sake of today, Chris has hit once and gained a bonus crit, so he's got 2 critical points.
An extra point of damage with the black dice. So combat shotgun does base 2, so I've got 3 points of damage on you and no armor reduction.
Okay, so Super Mutants aren't wearing much armor. Life is cheap in the Wasteland, so they've only got base armor 1. I'm not getting the cover bonus for physical. And again, there are 3 types of damage: physical, energy, and radiation. Each weapon has its own specific type. Laser weapons do energy, shotguns do physical, nuclear bombs do radiation, and different models can resist them in different ways. So, for example, the synths are immune to radiation because they're robots. As are Super Mutants because they are children of radiation, essentially. So I've got my base armor 1 for my physical. I've taken 3 damage. If I can roll a 1, I will resist that 1 point. If I roll over, I resist nothing. In this case, a 3 is far higher than my armor. I resist nothing.
The Brotherhood are feeling sorry for
3 wounds. So I take 3 wounds on my Super Mutant.
Let's give you... Right, there we go.
Fantastic. There we go. So that's his turnover because he didn't get any VATS points. And that would be the end of the turn. So we would take all the used tokens away.
Yeah.
If this was a scenario, we'd check to see if the scenario is one. In this case, we're just...
there might be an event card.
Could be an event card, in narrative
which
play.
Come to next, all that stuff.
Yep.